Good afternoon and welcome to the American University of Ras Al Khaimah. We are absolutely delighted to serve as a host for this stop on the Ride for Unity's inaugural 7-day, 7 Emirates cycle tour. My name is Dr. Kevin Connachtney and I serve as the Associate Provost for Student Affairs at the university. As we start today, it's my privilege to acknowledge the following individuals in our audience. His Excellency, Dr. Abdul Rahman Alshayeb Al-Naqbi, who is the Director General of the Department of Economic Development in the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. His Excellency, Mr. Muhammad Ali Musabbeh Al-Nuaimi, Chairman of the Ras Al Khaimah Chamber of Commerce. Dr. David A. Schmidt, President of the American University of Ras Al Khaimah. We're also pleased to welcome so many other guests present in the audience today. Okay, I'll now share a brief presentation before inviting His Excellency, Dr. Abdul Rahman, to the stage. The American University, we're a public, state-owned, not-for-profit, co-educational university. We're licensed by the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Education since 2009, and all programs are accredited through the Commission for Academic Accreditation of the Ministry of Education and SAC-COC, accredited since 2018. We're mission-centered to provide a transformational student-centered learning experience that engages students, faculty, and staff in innovative programs and high-impact research. We're modeled after the North American system of higher education. We're uniquely fashioned to serve the nation and the Gulf region, and we're diversely populated with 1,264 students, 84 faculty, and 145 staff from 38 different countries with 23 undergraduate and 5 master's programs. These are our institutional accreditors, the Commission for Academic Accreditation, Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges, and the Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education, the QAA. We have pathways for our students in terms of student mobility to study in North America and the United States. We have 3+2 programs with American universities, including Wayne State University in mechanical engineering, the University of Texas at Arlington in computer science, and the University of Wyoming in petroleum engineering. We also have a 3+1 program with Appalachian State University, and that focuses on tourism and hospitality management and national international program accreditation. We have COIL projects with the United States. Those are collaborative online international learning experiences. And we have student exchange programs with universities around the world. These are some of our sample partners to give you a sense of the reach of our university with our partnerships. I also want to share briefly about our Center for Entrepreneurship. We have a dynamic Center for Entrepreneurship, and this shares a bit about our mission. This next slide is a photo of our center that we have on campus. It's the physical space. The center focuses on business plans, evaluation services. We have a patented online patented online AI system. We also have incubation services for students, alumni, and community startups. We currently have 10 startups. We offer support for for folks that are in our incubation services, advising, looking at business plans and the like. And then we also have Knowledge and Innovation Transfer Entity, the KITE, and it serves as a bridge between academia and industry and promotes corporate entrepreneurship. That concludes our brief presentation about the university. And I would like to now invite, let me just do a quick introduction. His Excellency, Dr. Abdul Rahman Alshayeb Al-Naqbi is the Director General of the Department of Economic Development in the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. He received his PhD in finance from the University of Essex in the United Kingdom. Dr. Abdul Rahman holds several vital positions in Ras Al Khaimah, including Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Ras Al Khaimah Center for Statistics and Studies, Chairman of the Economic Committee of the Ras Al Khaimah Executive Council, and Chairman of the Advisory Board of the School of Business at the American University of Ras Al Khaimah. Please join me in offering a warm welcome to Dr. Abdul Rahman.
Assalamu alaikum. and good afternoon. I would like first to thank also Professor David Schmidt, the president of the university, and AURAK. It's in our heart actually, and we'd like to thank them for collaboration all the time with DED, with activities as part of our role, DED actually, to support businesses, energize the ideas for entrepreneurs. DED is all the time supporting, and I think part of our activities is being done all the time here at AURAK. Why? Because we believe that we have students who have innovative ideas, who can start a business, who can enter the world of the business from Ras Al Khaimah. So thank you very much for the collaboration, the AURAK University all the time for the effort that, in terms of collaboration with DED and Ras Al Khaimah. Thank you very much for the people who are coming with their rides. I think you are biking from Dubai, coming from Dubai? Fujairah? Okay, so I was driving yesterday from Korfakan to here, so I think that's part of the place, that nice place in Fujairah. Thank you very much for this event. Thank you very much for energize us and remind us of the youthful time that we were been. Okay, I think Ras Al Khaimah, and also I would like to welcome His Excellency Mohammed Musabbeh, the chairman of Ras Al Khaimah Chamber of Commerce. He is here around us today, and he will be in the panel also. I would like to thank everybody, thank the students also for being in this event. I guess now Ras Al Khaimah economy is growing, mashallah. We are seeing growing in different areas and fields. Ras Al Khaimah, the industrial sector is growing. Also, the tourism industry is growing. I think the education Ras Al Khaimah is growing and inaugurated by the establishment of Department of Knowledge, the new department that will take care of education, business, private education business Ras Al Khaimah. We are in DED actually supporting all economic activities, all events. We are responsible for licensing. Try to also put more effort in training and supporting businesses, energizing ideas, telling the people how to market their products, how to sell their products, what their kind of marketing strategies. We have also business directory who also can people interact with B2B business and so forth. So we welcome you here in Ras Al Khaimah. We welcome all the effort actually to remind us of the unity of United Arab Emirates, 7 days for 7 Emirates. We'd like to thank you for the effort that you put to come to Ras Al Khaimah. And also we thank everybody in this theater to be part of this event. Thank you very much for everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. My name is Daniel Bernard. I'm a member for the Ride for Unity team. And absolutely, I've visited Ras Al Khaimah a few times in the last year. And there is a sense of growth in the area. There's a sense of opportunity for businesses, for entrepreneurs, for investors. I'm keeping a key eye on it for sure. So it's delightful that we can come here, guests of the Department of Economic Development, and to be hosted here by the American University in RAK. We have a few things to talk about today, but first of all, I'm delighted to welcome on stage, and I really hope I pronounce her name correctly. Let's go. I'm going to give it a go, okay? Ameena Qahtan Aishhi. Round of applause for the pronunciation, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to thank you, all of you, for inviting me to be participated in this event. And it will be my pleasure to introduce for you a little bit information about the services that we have in Ras Al Khaimah. So, Department of Economic Development has started from 2005, and until today we are progressing and enhancing in new ways to make the customer service and the customer journey much easier and to be much ritual and make it easier for customers to start business in Ras Al Khaimah. So today we're going to talk about Ras Al Khaimah Plus platform that we use here in DED and our couple of statistics that we go through. So first of all, to know Ras Al Khaimah or DED giving 74 services, which is online service that any employee, any student, any investor can start his business from our platform. For example, we have permissions, trading names, license, also make a compliance about any shops that we're dealing with. So we have lots of types of license. We have something we call it as a normal license, chance license for non-local customers, for Al-Ghad license, and those the chance and Al-Ghad license type of license that you can start your own business at home, so you don't have to have a shop to start your business with. And we have also the V-Trader license, food truck license, and immediate license. Because most of investors would like to start his business, but he don't have the exact location that he looking for. So he can have the license without location for the first year. After this year, he can find the suitable location to start his actual work. Those are some number of transactions that we have, number of services that we done. In 2013, we have 39,000 service we can make it online, and only 1,000 we make it on the customer counter. So most of our services can be reached in our using online or mobile service. So this are the channels that we have. We have the counter, the trusted agent services. So most or a couple of the customers, they don't know how to use the service online. So we have given them the chance to apply for our services in using the trusted agent. We have the online service, we have the mobile app service, and also we have the SMS. Recently we have it. So you can renew your license using the SMS. And inshallah, hopefully, very soon we'll have the IVR service. So you can renew your license just with chatting with us. So we have also a couple of payment gateways, so you can make the payment online or through your mobile phone or kiosk, and also through the POS. So recently also we have started new features that help the customers, which is the automated legal contract. So you don't have to go to legal office to attest your legal contract. You can make it online. So also we have enhanced the chance license, which is it is for non-local customers that can start their business at home. Also, we have the food truck license, which is obvious one of the new type of business that people like to start their business with. So it's just a food truck to make food for people in different places. Also, the direct investment law, which is allow the local customers to own 100% of the license under their name. We have the QR code, which is you don't have to print out the papers anymore. Just through the QR code, you can go to, for example, banks, any institutions, show them the QR code, and they will know exactly the details of your license. And also about this SMS service, which is you can renew your license through the SMS service. So in DED, we currently you the big security in all your information. So there is no issues in no one can log into your personal information. Our, inshallah, future plan, we have started integration with a couple of local entities, and we are looking forward to make a federal integration with those entities. So customers, they don't have to go back and forth between entities to finish their process, just using our platform to finish all the process. And also the voice of the customer enhancement. Well, recently we have started a new customer journey. So most of the customers say, we don't know how to start our process, how we go through it, which is the steps to go through it. So we have achieved a journey so the customer can start the business and finish it in just one process, so he knows exactly what he's going through. And also we implemented artificial intelligence in our system. Of course, any entities will have challenges. So most of our challenges, which is the alignment among all the licensed entities. So because we are coordinated with different entities, we have to make sure that all entities on the same page, we are focusing on the customer, make them much investor, and increasing the number of investors and businesses in Ras Al Khaimah. And also, RAK business platform ensure a transparency interaction with customers to ensure the customer has the right information to establish a new business, like to know exactly how much will cost me, and for example, the approvals that require to open a new business. And that's it all. Thank you.
Ameena, thank you, the RAK DED Director for Commercial Affairs. And by the way, I was born in England, and I think you have a better English accent than me. I would like to say something about the chairman of the DED, who isn't here today because he has a very important business abroad, Sheikh Mohammed bin Qaid Al-Qasimi. Met him in May, and when he heard about our Right for Unity, he was so supportive and immediately gave every push that he possibly could with all the permits, with the tourist office, with TDA. And I just want to say thank you to him. And you always can tell an organization from its lead. And every person I've seen and met who works at the DED has that humility, that professionalism, and by the way, he's also an amazing cyclist, much better than I am, that's for sure. And we will miss him on this tour, but I would like to say thank you very much to Sheikh Mohammed. He was really wonderful, and today, as we cycled into RAK, accompanied by, it felt like all of RAK's police, it was truly amazing, and that's because of the support we've had from this fantastic emirate, so thank you very much. And now, I am absolutely privileged and honored to welcome a dear friend on stage. Hang on, 1 minute. Let me at least introduce you, 1 second. I want to say some nice words for you. She is an amazing member of the Right for Unity team. She's breaking her own barriers, I think, over the last couple of days, cycling much more than she ever thought she would. She's a coach, inspiring people along the way. She teaches people to speak professionally. She teaches people how to live better lives. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Leigh Bowman-Perks.
Okay, can you all hear me? Superb, thank you very much. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed business leaders, students, and visionaries from the Ras Al Khaimah region and university. There is a saying that people don't enter the room until they've had the opportunity to speak or think, because of course that's why you're here. So, I have a question for you, and I want you to do a little bit of thinking inside your own mind. If you lived until you were 80 years old, how many weeks from birth to death do you think that is? Okay, anybody brave enough to shout out, how many weeks? Oh, has somebody researched that? Very good. Okay, that's very good. Well, maybe you just had it. Did you calculate it? When I first found that out, I was shocked. 4,000 weeks. Now, it's my birthday this month, a big one, right? And I'm going to turn 50. So I've got two... Don't clap. I've got more years behind me than I have ahead of me. I'm ready to cry. Don't clap at that. So what does this mean, right? If you're 40, this leaves you 2,000 weeks. So I realize with those weeks, more weeks left behind me than ahead of me, and as you're calculating how many weeks are ahead of you, it raises a question. Knowing this important fact, what does this mean for your leadership choices, the decisions that you now make, and your behavior today? So, today I'm both excited and challenged. Excited because it is a profound honor to stand here before you today in this magnificent place of learning and growth and talent, a beacon of progress and innovation. As we gather at the heart of the UAE, I'm reminded of the powerful journey that this team has embarked on, the Ride for Unity team. This journey, much like leadership itself, is not just a path we tread, but it is a legacy that we weave into the very fabric of our culture and our society. I'm also challenged. So here's my first challenge. I've been asked to keep my keynote short, Daniel, thank you, and to stay static. Thanks, camera team. Okay, which is a very difficult thing to do for an Irish woman. And if you don't know about the Irish, we love to talk and we love to bounce around and give us a stage. We're off. So it's a little bit like an oxymoron, a fun run, a great cycle ride, or jumbo shrimp. So I've scripted this to keep me on track. And I've got somebody ahead of me going, time out, and will pull me off the stage if I go on for too long. So, but I'm also challenged because the true path to inspiring leadership is not just a 20-minute speech, where you quickly learn some language and some principles. It's lifelong learning. At 50, I am still learning. It's about a deeper immersion where you combine developing that knowledge and that experience that you gain along the way to accessing human emotions and your ambition that drives you to a deeper sense of purpose. And so we must approach leadership with a very clear intention for diversity, inclusion, tolerance, and unity. So this is translated into visible action. And this is the theme for Ride for Unity. 7 days, 7 Emirates is not just a fun cycle, an oxymoron, but also it's the foundation of our very connection to humanity. And particularly in the 21st century, not even the 21st century, in this decade, in this year, is more important than ever. As we see technology, the economy, the environment, and the social impact of every decision that we make as leaders, as you make, as future leaders, and what this can do to change our world for the future. It can also offer a destructive path that can also change our world and humanity itself. So in this, what we call, let me get my slides going. Has anybody come across this term? A VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. In this VUCA world, we need a different kind of leader, now so more than ever, that makes data, information, insight visible, creates transparency. I saw that earlier about what the university is about. So it is also about creating understanding with each other across diversity. It's creating clarity, and it's also having agility to adapt and change, and anti-fragility so that we don't break along the way. Now, this is a great quote that I talk about often with them in my speeches, and it's by Professor E.O. Wilson. In these modern times, we have godlike technologies which are evolving and improving minute by minute. surpassing human capability and capacity. Our organizations and structures and processes are similar to medieval times, and I think we've all come across this along the way, where there are hierarchies and bureaucracies. And let's take ourselves and our emotions. They haven't really evolved from the caveman times, the Paleolithic times, our emotional states, and the way our brains function, except there's no saber-toothed tigers around the corner these days. Or maybe there are, just in our organizational walls. So in this VUCA world, knowing we have a 4,000-week lifespan, give or take, inspiring leadership is a hero's journey. It's not just taking the easy path, but the courageous and ambitious one. It's to ensure the betterment and advancement of the human experience. It's also a collective journey, as no burden of this nature should ever sit on a single person's shoulders. You must play your part. It is also where we role model our intentions, with stated commitments to our values, and then driving through on these statements to deliver on action, because statements alone lack substance. They're just illusions and smokescreens to something else. It is your actions that will build trust. It is your unfulfilled statements that will break trust. Not just trust in others, but also trust in yourself, confidence in yourself. Because there is no doubt, as leaders with power, with influence, you are the ones who set the leadership tone from the top, not just for you, but for your teams, your organizations, your communities, your emirates, our world. People will look to you as their guide and their source of inspiration. Now, inspiring comes from the Latin word inspiritus, which means to breathe life into. Breathe life into. Well, of course, every hero has its arch nemesis. Welcome the arch nemesis. Those individuals and groups that achieve the exact opposite of the inspiring leader, like vampires, we're all familiar with vampires, we've watched a few movies, suck the life out of individuals and organizations, and sadly our communities too. In our present times, we are experiencing a wake-up call about leadership, where populism, post-truth, and polarization have become the manipulative tools to power. But the fact is, there is no us as inspiring leaders, and them as the arch nemesis. Just as we have the hero within us, the inspiring leader within us, we also have our nemesis, the expiring leader. Because somewhere we all are on that spectrum. So appreciating this, you need to truly understand the meaning of inspiring leadership in your journey, through self-awareness, through lifelong learning, and apply a value to it by showing up and modeling it and what it means to be an inspiring leader in the moments that matter. These are your moments of truth. So inspiring leaders versus expiring. Inspire and create a thinking environment where everyone matters, where talent is elevated, engaged, and empowered. Now, I just want you to take 30 seconds just to think about or write down a name of a leader who really inspires you. Really, really does. They're leaving a legacy. Think about why. Have you thought of that leader? Are you struggling to think of that leader? Maybe that leader is going to be you. Right, here's a few examples. Remitly, these are my own personal experiences of working with some amazing organizations. When I met Matt, He had an embryonic idea for building a fintech company that enabled immigrants from around the world to simply transfer their hard-earned money back to their families. Starting with a couple of friends, each brought different qualities to the relationship, but wholly aligned around building a company that was grounded in social values. They set about making a positive change for some of the most marginalized and often vulnerable groups. 12 years into their journey after that original conversation with them, he and his business partner, Josh, they became a public listed company on the American NASDAQ stock market and are now valued at over $5 billion. With a global footprint and over 3,500 employees. They are growing, and they are growing fast, and it's a privilege to be working and supporting with them on that journey. But what strikes me is in this materialistic, power-hungry world that we feel that we can kind of live in, where something, if it doesn't have a price to it, then it's not valued. We need to change that. Matt and Josh did. They continue to do so, and so their values are their values. It's not just about value. Their vision intersects both for a better human experience. They are the stewards. They don't create smokescreens, but just create real change. Example number 2. I can't help but put it up there, Ride for Unity. And there are so many reasons why I'm putting it up there. Of which I don't have time to share today, I know. But speak to me afterwards and I'll bore you senseless. But again, 7 days, 7 Emirates. Leaders without followers, they're just lone individuals with a wonderful idea. But their impact, of course, will be limited. This exemplar organization was born out of an embryonic idea, again, entrepreneurship, to mobilizing talented leaders in their field, whether sports or business, from around the world. There are so many times when initiatives like this fail to fly. But where there is a will, there is a way. With a clear vision, it took the full amount of resourcefulness to mobilize that talent and to build a passion for this cause and deliver an inspiring message that will touch thousands, and I'm sure in the future, as it's a repeated pattern, will touch millions. Their message is one of selflessness, for a broader focus on humanity itself and reinforcing the strong foundations of values that are so prevalent inside of all of us. But we may at times just need to be reminded for a greater sense of hope. Individually, the leaders that are involved in this process are exceptional. But together, riding in the slipstream of leadership, they are powerful and will create change. And this brings me to the UAE. So for my third example of inspiring leadership, without their support, without your support, without the support of the chairman, none of this would be so. And that takes effort, huge amounts of effort. So from officials and dignitaries to police escorts and the tourism industry that have been key enablers, they've made this happen. But I'm not surprised at the resourcefulness of the UAE, because it's clear that traveling across all 7 countries, meeting the nationalities that are there, the organizations, and listening to the messages of leaders about the beautiful traditions, through to the passion for embracing the future, the UAE wants to be caught in the action of excellence. There is a clear understanding that the rhetoric must become the reality, where the tone from the top is reverberated through every layer. Because you understand, and future leaders here understand, that these are your moments of truth. And all of our team have experienced this powerful and profound examples, these moments of truth, as you've helped to make this happen. So I just want to take an opportunity on behalf of the team as well to say thank you. Thank you for enabling us, yeah? So you'll be pleased to know, might not be completely on time, but I'm coming towards the end. I'm going to leave you with these messages. Inspiring leadership is not just a concept. It's based on decades of research to understand what makes not just any leader, but an inspiring leader. Now, if you look over here, if IQ accounts for 6% of performance, and EQ accounts for 30%, there's a big gap. Well, I can't take you around this compass today, and that's a journey in its own right. But I do want to take you to this. Inspiring leadership. You know the arches that you've got in the architecture of your mosques? You know where you've got the arches and there's three keystones that hold those arches and the infrastructure in place? These three stones are the principles for inspiring leadership. So MQ, your morals, your values, your beliefs, what do you stand for? PQ, your purpose, vision, and meaning. And LQ, legacy. So top tips, remember your moments of truth is where your leadership, through the different layers, meets the experience, the human experience of others. Living life on purpose, find out what you're great at and pursue it with courage and tenacity, because that's what we need in leadership today. Remember how many weeks? And leave a positive legacy, because we need so much more of that. So does anybody know what the 3 most important days in your life are? Don't look it up on your phones, by the way, to answer. Actually, won't be there because I've made this up. Okay, the day you were born, your aha moment, that's when you find out who you are, so the day you find out why. And the third is when you make an impact, because none of it matters if you don't do so. Wishing you every success in your inspiring leadership journey. Thank you so much for today.
Hello, I'm going to check if one of these works. Leigh, if you wanted to wander around the stage, you could have just... Do you want to do it again? Yeah. Thank you so much, Leigh. Can we have another round of applause for Leigh Bowman-Perks? Now, we have a wonderful panel, but I'm going to tell a little story. The panel is going to explore how we can actually take diversity, which is one of the key values of the Right for Unity, and how we can actually turn it into good business. Can you put up your hand if you run a business here? Who runs a business? There's quite a few. Who are students at this university? Put up your hands, please. Now, keep your hands up. Which of the students don't want to run a business in their lives? Okay, very few. A couple, yeah. It's hard work, yeah, for sure. We're talking about diversity today and how you can actually turn diversity not just from a value, but into good commercial sense and value, how you get return from having a diverse team. So before I invite our esteemed panelists up, I'm going to tell a little story, so please indulge me. Back in 2004, I had the great privilege of setting up a business that went on to become, alhamdulillah, a great success, together with my wife called Rachel. That was in 2004. We worked together for about 8 years, and when I say that, a lot of people go, maybe it ended up in divorce, 8 years working with your wife. But it didn't, thankfully. I'm still a happily married man. Maybe you should ask her, I don't know. I think everything's good. But 8 years we worked together. And I look back on it now, and I say 100%. If she wasn't there, that business not only would not exist today, it would never have got to a successful stage at all. And I look back and realize that, because what I think about are those early days when we were just at the beginning and things were starting to get going. We were about 60 people in the company. We had about 6 in senior management, including my wife and myself. And the other 4, looking back on it, were all a bit like me. So pretty alpha male, we think we can conquer the world. I was a young man, I was like, yeah, we know everything. And I remember those early meetings, very informal, no real agendas. And someone would come up with an idea. And we'd go around the room and everyone would go, great idea, great idea, great idea. Because basically we're all pretty similar. So of course we're going to agree with ourselves. Until it got to my wife, who'd say, I don't think so. And we'd feel like she's a bit of a party pooper sometimes, you know what I mean? Oh, but, you know, obviously this is a great idea. And then she'd go on to explain sometimes why it wasn't a great idea, and we'd all feel a bit humbled. And she's right, because my wife is very intelligent, annoyingly intelligent sometimes. But there were times, many times, that she couldn't really explain why she disagreed. It was just a feeling. She just says, I just don't think that's right for us. And of course, being my wife, what could I do but go along with it? Otherwise, I'm going to have bigger trouble. And looking back on those specific situations, which were frustrating, which were very frustrating, she was almost always right, because she's very intelligent. And we went on to become successful, and I since learned that any time I build a senior team, I'm now going to insist on having people who come from a different perspective, because we are different. And having people look at the same problem, being anchored around the same vision, but looking at it from a different perspective, gives a lot of strength. Because if we are all the same, then what do we need each other for? I can just make my own decisions. Now, this is a nice story, of course, but it's also a tragic one, because at my stage in life now, where I'm a lot more mature and hopefully a little bit more wise, I still see a huge amount of businesses making the same mistake. And I know, looking back at it, if she wasn't my wife, then I probably would have either fired her because she was making it difficult, blocking, or perhaps worse for her, I would have sidelined her, put her on the side, and not been part of the central engine of what we did. And I see that happening in many, many businesses because they just don't know how to embrace a different way of looking at a problem. That's my little story for you. And now I'm delighted to invite some panelists to talk about this. I hope that was interesting for you anyway. It's an important story for me. I'm going to first ask to the stage, hang on, Your Excellency, Chairman of the RAK Chamber of Commerce. I'm delighted to invite you first to the stage. Gentleman that I met very recently. He has a smile wider than anyone I know. Muhammad Ali Musabbeh Al Nuaimi, please. Please have a seat. Thank you. Second, a Ride for Unity member. She is an Australian Paralympian swimmer. She lives here in Dubai. She's written children's books about inclusion. Hang on, why are you so... 1 minute, let me talk about you. She also founded a company that deals with the inclusion of people of determination in the business world. She's an incredibly inspiring person, one of my favorite people. Jessica Smith, please welcome. And now I would like to welcome on stage as well one of your own, the department chair, the assistant professor of human resources management, Dr. Abdelfatah Arman. Please welcome to the stage. And for our final panelist, we have another Ride for Unity member. He's a technologist, an entrepreneur, always trying to drive business correctly and from the heart. Thank you. He's the co-founder of Oasis X, and he specializes in the Web3 space. He's becoming already a very dear friend. Jimi Ibrahim, please, welcome to the stage. Okay, I'm back over here now. Can you hear me still? Yes. Welcome, everybody. Pick up your mics, please, and let's make sure they all work for a start.
Hello.
There we go. Jessica's works.
Test.
Hello?
Test.
Yeah, I guess it's working now.
So as I said, the title of this panel is how do we actually get commercial value, ROI, out of diversity, and not just have it as a value that we say, hey, we've got diversity. And I'd like to start with you, Jessica. First of all, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you very much for having me.
So you've become a leading voice for global disability inclusion. Now, I know that inclusion, diversity, they're not the same thing, but they are connected, of course. One can feed the other. Can you tell us a little bit about your work in this area and specifically how it connects to the world of business and employment?
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much for having me. So you're correct, diversity and inclusion go hand in hand. However, they're not the same thing. Diversity exists all around us. Inclusion takes work, it takes commitment, and it takes team effort, and it takes understanding. So my work as a consultant in disability inclusion within the corporate space is really to help create people culture that is more understanding and is more aligned and cohesive when it comes to disability inclusion and accessibility. And what does that actually mean? It means going back to the drawing board and explaining to an organisation and the people in the business what disability is. And if I can ask the audience and even the panel members, when I say disability or people of determination, can you raise your hand if the first image or association for you is somebody using a wheelchair? Yes? Okay, so this is part of the education around. The disability community around the world is over 1 billion people. So we're talking a population the size of China, okay? 8% of the disability community actually are wheelchair users. However, the wheelchair has become the global symbol, I guess, for what disability is. And what happens then is our understanding and our association with what a person might need and what their requirements are and accessibility requirements are is based on preconceived ideas and assumptions based on a very narrow understanding on what disability is. So my role is to go in and to be able to explain the diversity within disability and why that's important for an organisation. So when you talk about the business case for disability, employing more people of determination, people with a disability, isn't just about installing a ramp and having them come into an administration role and ticking a box. It's about making sure that the policies and procedures and strategies within an organisation support that person who has been employed and that accommodations are made so that they're able to complete and fulfil their task just as anyone else would. Now, as a person with a disability, if I go into your organisation or I access your services and I have a negative experience, I'm not going to come back, but I'm also going to share that negative experience with my family and friends. And as a result of that, the spending power or the financial contribution that the disability community have globally is between $8 to $13 trillion per annum. You can't not include people with a disability when it comes to the corporate space. And so the more people with a disability and people of determination that you employ and that you enable and empower within your workplace, you benefit everybody because everybody feels as though they have an opportunity to thrive and be able to, I guess, excel and provide the skills that are needed. However, some of those accommodations are needed, and what we find is there is a resistance and a pushback simply because people just don't understand and they don't know. So my role is to simplify that and to go in and explain why disability inclusion is so important and how the business case around that can benefit so many, because a lot of us aren't as empathetic to the needs of, for me, it's the right thing to do. But for a lot of people, they need that business case. But the business case is there, and we can no longer afford to ignore it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Mohammed, I find that obviously very interesting. Jessica, I've known you for a while. We obviously think the same way, and we would love the world to get more educated so they can benefit themselves and not just think, hey, we're doing the right thing, because I think it is doing the right thing and doing the right thing for your business, absolutely. Mohammed, when I met you the other day, it was clear to me you have such a wealth of experience, which I think we can all learn from. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how you see that the country, the UAE as a whole, has embraced diversity to improve the way it exists, to improve the way it operates, both for business and for life.
Thank you. First, thank you, Daniel, for inviting me. And thank you, folks. I'm honored to be among you. I'll start the journey in a different way, not the way I told you. So I would like to ask you first, where are you from?
I'm from Australia, but I live in Dubai.
Okay, and where are you from? Sudan. And where are you from?
I'm Lebanese.
Okay, now as you can hear, everybody's saying or claiming they are from different country. Well, actually, if you go back to Adam and Eve and you believe in that, it's only 150 grandfathers that we had. So we're all cousins. You did not come from another country. You just came from the small village called Earth. And the technology today get us more closer and closer. Now, the UAE, we are only 10% of the population, and we're shrinking, I think, because there is more people wish to live here. And the diversity of the UAE is the main secret of success of the country. We don't claim that we built it ourselves. You all participated in building it, and there is so many others, the other 10 million who lives with us here. And we're honored to have them helping us building this country. Actually, if you fly Emirates Airline, they tell you that our crew came from 13 countries and they speak 17 languages. And that's the only airline make that announcement. And that's why Emirates Airline, in 30 years, they became #1 in the world. And that's diversity. The only thing that happened, one of your grandfather from these 150, from Adam until here, choose to do something different and to go somewhere else. Otherwise, we're all the same. We're all cousins. We meet somewhere back. And these choices makes the success. These choices makes the difference in the life of others and makes anything different. Like Daniel explained how his wife sometimes looks at an incident or a decision and she does not feel continuing this way, and she tells him to go that way. That's a choice, and that's diversity. And that results a success that you realize later. Sometimes you do the same when you're driving a car. You decide to go a different route, and then you find out it's shorter. Now it's Google helping you, or Waze, but that's also another choice and another diversity. Diversity in life. You come up, you build a family, and you have 5 children, and they all have different choices, and they all have different way of looking at things, and you just wish them to become you or become better than you, but they are by themselves is actually their own human and their own choice and their own success, and you love to see them successful. So looking at anything in life is actually options for you. It's option for you to speak, it's option for you not to speak, it's option for you to deal with this person or that person, or take this way or that way. And this diversity, if you just accept them and don't listen to anything negative and look at it in a positive way, you will definitely succeed. Even when they tell you today that technology has taken over, no, it didn't. Because if you look at any company that's based in technology and worth billions of dollars today, is actually the key success is a human choice. Without that human choice, this company will not succeed. So it's always we drive the success, and we drive to be successful or not. And we choose to progress or just step back and sit down and watch. And these students who actually attend with us today, it was their choice to spare their break time and sit down to listen to us. Thank you for being here and listening to us, because we learn from you more than what you learn from us. You listen to us for a few minutes, you think you learn something, but as we progress in life, you're gonna drive the future and we have to follow you. So it's always like that, life is like that. UAE has 7 Emirates and 42 free zones. That gives any investor 49 choice to be in which jurisdiction. And this is not available anywhere in the region, is not available anywhere in any of these countries around us. So don't compare and say, my country is not like the UAE. No, we are blessed. We are lucky to have this diversity in our country, to have also leaders that adore the country and looks at it as their house. But any country can provide these choices and make more choices for investors. We also look at other countries who are successful more than us in different ways, and we see what do they have. Legislations, we change it. Some infrastructure, we build it. And that's how we progress and succeed. We respect everybody who lives in this country, therefore you respect us. I don't know how many of you were here during the pandemic, but when that buzzer comes in the phone at 8 p.m., everybody went home from 200 countries. It's amazing. You know, I know that if you were in your country, maybe you wouldn't go home. But here you respect it because the country respects you. And because we all respect each other. It's by our choice. And we are lucky to have you among us. And I hope you feel that you're lucky to be in the UAE because it is your country and you are our cousins from wherever you came. We meet somewhere in that 150 grandfathers we have. And I calculate that based on a human average age of 65. If they overlap in 15 years with their children, then it's 200 grandfathers we have over 10,000 years. Life is very short, you know, and diversity gives you option to be better. So just move yourself from the negativity and be positive and open your options for everything. Don't listen to anybody tells you you're in your country and you don't want foreigners. No, we love foreigners. We love our cousins from other part of the earth. Come here. That's how you build. Whoever wants to contribute, ahlan wa sahlan. Most welcome. And that's how we progress. In 50 years, I'm lucky to witness this 50 years of building the UAE because I remember when the UAE was formed. And I remember seeing our founding fathers. I met them all. I was lucky to born here. I was lucky to study in the United States and to live and travel and meet and see. I went to school where we were 8 locals out of 22 students in my classroom. So I grew up having people from all around the world around me. And that's how we accept others. Accept others, no matter where they came from, because they're your cousin. You cannot deny that, unless you believe that you came from the monkeys. Otherwise, if you believe you came from Adam and Eve, that we're all cousins. Thank you very much. I'm not going to take much of your time. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
Your Excellency, it's such a joy to listen to you. It really is. I feel like I learn everything, something new from every sentence. It's wonderful. Thank you very much for being here and gracing us with your wisdom. I love the fact you talk about choices all the time, that it's a choice. And what I really like about that is it's giving accountability as well to the person to make their own choices and stand by their own choices. Dr. Abdelfatah, I'd like to take it to you now because when we try and nurture the younger generation as we have here at the university, how do you already or how do you think that you can help them to understand that they have this choice and take responsibility for their choices so that they can bring what they have different to the equation?
Thank you very much for having me and welcome all to AURAK. To answer your question, I'm teaching a course, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion for our students. And in that course, just to give you one example, so for some of you, maybe you are from other schools or maybe you haven't taken a course on diversity and inclusion. So imagine you invited me to one of your weddings. So I'm sitting there on a table with you. But you are speaking your own language, which I do not speak, I do not share. And you are dancing on the floor, you haven't invited me. So the first part of it, that is diversity, right? So, which is basically head counts, you invited me. but I was sitting there excluded, right? I feel excluded. And probably you feel the same way. If somebody invited you to a wedding, to a party, but they are speaking their native language, which you do not speak, you feel excluded, right? They haven't invited you to dance on the floor, you feel excluded. So I teach those type of things. So diversity is one thing, which is the easiest part. So if you wanted to claim that we have diversity in the organization, that is the easiest part. So it is an easy trick. So headcounts, right? To employ people or hire people from different walks of life, right? From the UAE, from Qatar, from Sudan, from Poland, from the UK, which is an easy task. But the problem comes, those people you have hired feel excluded. So what would happen? Turnover, right? So they will quit their jobs. So we talked about leadership. It comes, right, it comes from the top. So the top sets the tone. So what do you need to do? To monitor. Where do you hire? The pool of hiring, where does it come from, right? Is it our local community here, Ras Al Khaimah? Or do we market our jobs internally, externally, social media, because we want it? By the way, when I was hired, I was in the US. I came from the US to Ras Al Khaimah. I did not apply for a job in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Don't get me wrong, those are really nice cities, and I know a lot of people are big fans of big cities, but I'm not, unfortunately, because I used to work in Washington, D.C., so it was hectic for me. So but anyway, I came here because how they attracted me, the messaging, that we are really a diverse faculty, students, Ras Al Khaimah is really diverse. That is how they attracted me. So you will need the leadership, sets the tone. From where are we hiring? That is the first part of it. So once we recruit and select, whom are we recruiting? For what purpose? So that is done. That is a box check. That is the easiest part. So where it gets harder, it is a part of inclusion. So if the top leadership is not setting the tone, so for example, let's say you hire Nadine or Hamdan, right? Those are my students, for a job, but they feel excluded. So if I have a meeting, I don't share the agenda for that meeting. I don't ask them, what do you think about this agenda, or if you wanted to add an agenda item. That is those people, they feel they are valued, right? They are respected, because I'm asking them for their opinion, right? Because they matter to me. During the meeting, I should ask them about their opinions, because they might think, oh, okay, I'm a leader, they shouldn't speak, right? No, I should ask about their opinion. What do you think about this? Is it a good idea or a bad idea? What do you think? So really care about your opinion, that they feel valued, right? If they need training for promotion, because we might hire, for example, minority, right? And imagine this, the beauty of this country called the UAE. Those people in their own country, they are a minority because of this welcoming spirit. And that foundation was laid by the founding father of this beautiful country of yours. So I need to ask those minorities about what they need in terms of training, office equipment, so on and so forth. Because if I have a majority, those people, probably for, I don't know for how many years, it depends on what nation are we talking about. They have access to education, they have access to training, they have access to top leadership, they have access to C-suite, right? But minorities don't. So you will need to monitor that. I will need to provide a scaffolding for them so that they could be equal. Equal, I'm not talking about equality in providing pay, but on training. So I could promote. Top leadership must monitor promotion, right? Whom are we promoting? Only majority, the mainstream, or minorities? Are we promoting women, white women, black women, so on and so forth, right? If you are talking about the Emirates here, we should cater for Emirati, right? Because they are a minority. Look at the banking sector. across the UAE, there is a turnover of minorities. And those people are Emiratis. Why? Because they feel excluded. And again, that is the hardest part to do, because you want to be able to feel respected. You want to be able to feel valued, right? To be promoted. Some of whom could not get promoted. Why? Because they don't have access to training. They don't have access to technologies. They don't have access to so on and so forth. So that is what I'm teaching. So I'm teaching my student, when you assume a job, when you become a manager, what you will need to look at. Not only we want diversity, so okay, that is the easiest part. I could do, head counts. So I could hire people from different walks of life. But you will need to be careful about, valuing your employees, respecting their voices. If you're a manager, you don't need to sit as the head of the table. So we know you're a manager, right? Yeah. So try to change that. Because again, you don't want to fly that badge. I am your manager, so I'm gonna sit here at the head of the table, right? Because the buck stops at me. We know that, right? But you don't want to do that, because again, you want people to feel at ease, right? So that is what I'm teaching my students. So, because again, you are creating a value. So if you wanted to have a competitive advantage, you will need to hire. And you talked about this, because imagine hiring people only from Ras Al Khaimah. They went to the same elementary schools. They went to the same high schools. They went to AURAK. So what you will have, people thinking in a similar way, right? Because they went to the same schools. Probably they were watching the same game or playing the same game, soccer, whatever the case might be. But imagine having people from different walks of life, different nationalities. They will have different perspectives, but I will need to listen to those different perspectives. It is easy for me, not to ask people to make that decision myself, right? But it takes time. People hate it, top leadership hate it. We don't have time for this. Let's just make this decision. But if we open it up, because it takes time, right? And we might have disagreements, and people don't like conflict. But conflict is positive, because out of that conflict, we will have, I don't want to say a great idea, but at least a workable idea that could resolve whatever you want it to resolve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderfully said. And before I answer that, I'm interested to know how many students take your course?
It depends. Some semesters 42 students, other semester 23 students, 25 students, because it is an elective course. And probably we will need to make it mandatory course for all students.
So I'm thinking, because you're teaching not just those principles, but the values behind those principles, which is absolutely critical. I don't know, maybe it should be an obligatory course, who knows. I think there's a lot to learn from what you're teaching, Doctor. Thank you very much. And while I was listening to you, I was thinking that having such a diverse group of people, sure, everyone comes from a different perspective, like we said, we get more. But if they're not anchored around something, then there's chaos. Not necessarily everyone will get on and actually do something and actually solve our problems. So this is where, Jimmy, I'd like to turn to you. You're obviously, as a Ride for Unity member, you embrace these values, but I want to understand from a business point of view. You've had great success in your business and you're building new businesses all the time. How do you make sure that these are not just values from a core value perspective, but ones that you embrace so that everyone is anchored together around a vision, around a value? You tell me what it is in order to gain success. And I'd like to hear also where you've not succeeded in this as well, if there are examples. Please let us know.
Thank you. So we all see now in the media that, on ads and everything, we always see people from all walks of life, whether them female or male, from different cultures. But if you dig deeper, it's all not really there within the leadership of the company, right? So what's important is that, firstly, actions are much louder than words, right? So what that means is that through hiring practices in a business, you should be able to reach a leadership position regardless of who you are, what sex you are, what culture you come from. So that's very important. And the way to do that is to actually set diversity goals in the company, right? To have a certain criteria to go by, and to monitor the progress so that you make sure that you actually reach those. And if not, then to change it up a bit to actually do it. And to instill an inclusive culture in your company. And this is important. And as you were saying, that an employee or even a C-level or whatever has to feel valued, has to be heard so that he's empowered. These are very important. And it gives basically the ability to act as freely and to have an opinion. And that can be done through open conversation, as we're saying, open communication between all of the members, and to actively address unconscious biases. Because yes, we do come from a diverse, background, but also we come with our baggage. And it's very important to kind of, from the beginning, to put that aside. Now, diverse teams also drive a lot of innovation. And as you were saying, that with your experience, is that maybe you didn't have the direct solution for something, but when you were able to remove your ego out of it and to actually listen, you managed to get to whatever target you wanted to in a better and more efficient way. Whereas if you weren't open to that, you would have done the same mistake. And then transparency and accountability, as we were saying as well. And that happens through regular reporting, to instill a system within your company to have these reports coming in, the HR to come and ask how everyone's doing, if they have any comments, and then to actually take actions after that. And then, seeking feedback is very important, as we were saying. So making sure that everyone is feeling as included and taking their opinions and listening to what their pain points are and addressing them is very, very important to drive innovation in the company. So in my case, maybe I haven't had an experience like that, because this is an ethos that we start any business with. And we know that we're not the best at what we do, and we're not the ones that know everything. In Web3, an industry that's ever changing, we're constantly learning. And we know that until now, there's no experts in what I do. All of us are trying. We all are, branching out, seeing if that works, then we go for another road. So I feel that now maybe more the fact that people are behind their computers all the time, and there's a term we say undoxed, which means that you don't know the identity. They're just a name, which is good, because you don't need to know that information. What you care about is the input. What you care about is the ability to build with this individual, and add 10 of these, and then you're a team, and then grow that team, and you become a huge business. So. Yeah, I mean, those are my 2 cents on the issue. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Jimmy, one of the things you said near the end there, you're saying, the danger of thinking, I don't want to know who it is behind it. I can understand why you're saying that. From my point of view, I always want to know who's behind it for the other reason. You're talking about unconscious bias, which is something that is a real problem. And turning from unconscious bias to conscious bias, so we become more aware, is a real issue. Jessica, I think you've dealt with this quite a lot, which is why I think I'm going to stop talking and just hand over to you. I'd love to hear your opinion on this.
Well, I was just going to say there is power in both sides, because historically, as a person with a disability, I have never wanted to disclose any personal information about myself in the hiring process, because I would never be employed. If I put down on a job application that I have a physical disability, straight away everybody assumes that I use a wheelchair, and therefore the accessibility may not be available, and therefore it's a straight away no. So I had learnt over the years to not disclose that information about myself, because it would always be seen as a detriment. So, and what we saw during COVID is that so many more people with a disability were able to take up positions because they had that psychological safety of being able to do that in a space that was their own from home. So, however, I completely agree. But what comes first? How do you allow somebody to feel that sense of safety first to be able to apply and then be given the opportunity to take on that position, to then feel empowered within an organization that irrespective of what they look like, where they come from, that they will be given the opportunity to fulfill the task to the best of their capabilities with the accommodations that might need to be made. And that goes back to what you were saying about equity.
Right.
So does that make sense? I think it's a bit of both, and it is tricky, and that's why these conversations are really important, because it's conversations that a lot of people don't want to have. They don't know how to have it. They don't know the right terminology and what to say, what not to say. But until you have those conversations, you never learn. And until you ask, what are those needs, which sometimes aren't appropriate as well. So all of these things have to come in place. But I think it's not an easy one to answer. I think there needs to be both.
I think that generally what you're saying is there has to be that education to give the platform. We can't assume that people, it's almost a disability of their own, that they have those unconscious biases, of course. And if they haven't grown up around lots of different people, then that's natural. And so it's an education to provide a platform that then we can move forward. So I agree with that. And one of the things that you also said, Jimmy, was about having those procedures in place to make sure. And I'm all for KPIs and metrics. I will say that on values, what I felt is that if someone is trying to do something to fill his KPI, it's because he doesn't actually understand why he's doing it. The KPI has to be there to check that everything's going right, but we need to make sure that our employees, our people around us, actually understand why they are embracing these values, and not just, I'm just doing this to tick a box and just to fill a KPI. And that takes me, Mohammed, back to something that you were saying before, about the natural way that this country, because of the way it was founded, has embraced these without people needing to. Because I understand, obviously, in business, we do need to keep these metrics. But Mohammed, how do we make sure that people naturally embrace it, together with education? Okay? What have you seen in your long tenure in this country that does that, so that people naturally embrace it?
Well, as I said earlier, we're all the same. There is sometimes that you see an opportunity in something that could be a great business. I'll give you an example. I don't know, many of you have seen the movie Social Network. Yeah? Actually, in Social Network, it was talks about Facebook and why Facebook became a success. And during the movie, the kid who actually acted as Mark came to his friend and say, he created a game, and the game had all the girls' pictures from Harvard University system. And they were picking up which one is beautiful and the other one drops. And everybody played the games until the system crashed. This is the real story. And why the system crashed, it's because everybody played it in the same time. But why they played it? Because they knew the people in the picture. The internet is full of pictures of people you don't know, you're not interested to see. So, because you knew the people in the picture, you actually wanted to play the game. And that's what the key success of Facebook, because your friends, when they put pictures, you want to see them. But if John Smith, whoever he is, puts his picture, you're not interested. You don't know him. So every idea has some kind of a human element that actually makes us a success. And similar here in the UAE, we don't prefer people based on their gender or based on their race that they are from the UAE. As our teacher here from AURAK said, we are minority in the country. We had people from all over the world building the country with us, and we value that. And we give them the position they deserve if they are good at it. Now we wish that They are originally from the UAE, but they are not. They have better or different things that they have learned during their life. They have different education. They have different experience. They've seen something we did not see. And you know, when I finished high school and I went to the States to study, we were 3,000 students from the UAE there, or 3,500. But there were similar numbers in England and France and Australia and Jordan and Egypt, from everywhere. And we came with different experience. We've seen different parts of the world, and we learned different things from different people. And we came back, and you know, this is the result of our experience and diversity that we've seen in different world, and took the knowledge and the experience and the learn from people from also different part of the world. Some of my teachers, they were not Americans as well, you know, and that's how we actually build the country, with the help of all of you and with the help of the diversity of people and thinking.
Because there was a leadership that enabled that, of course. It
Correct.
always comes back to the leadership,
Correct.
enabling
And
something and giving the platform for
that's
it.
correct. Our leaderships always encourage people who wants to contribute, encourage people who wants to reach, like help the country, or help the entity, or help the emirate, or help anything that we have to reach the vision of the leaders. The leaders always looks at others and look at other countries and other successful stories and set a very high aim to reach. And that's what we try to do, with no matter who helps us.
Absolutely. And I want to bring it back to business with thinking about the opposite side here, Jimmy. You know, obviously we all are in favor, of course, we love it. Are there areas that you feel that you've experienced, whether in the UAE, but maybe more likely abroad, issues with embracing diversity, with suppliers, with clients, where you had to stand fast with, or not maybe yourself, but you've witnessed another company that has faced issues because of their focus on diversity and trying to embrace that as a value?
So I'm going to go back to the first thing I said, like in media, in movies, and you know, companies that have a strong face value, and when you don't really see what's behind the curtains. So you always see that they try to be as inclusive, you know, but started with United Colors of Benetton and then keeps on going till today. And, you know, I feel like the modern community actually sees through that, right? It's not enough for you at face value to, you know, put these values of diversity and inclusivity and then go back to doing the backward-minded kind of leadership in a company. In my experience, pushing too much in that direction will diminish returns, especially when it isn't always as possible to really diversify that much, especially when it's an industry where it's very technical, where there are very few people comparing to the 8 billion in the world that can actually successfully reach innovation. So for that, I feel that it's always good to stay true to these values and true to yourself, but also to promote it actively, even if it's not possible in you know, your situation, but not to do it in spite of you know, the success or whatever you're trying to build, and just as face value, as we said, to look good, right? Because the modern community is aware, and they will see through it, and you will be disregarded, and it will actually like lower revenue. I think it lowered ROI.
Yeah, so what if, just to paraphrase, I think just don't embrace diversity for diversity's sake. It's just going to diminish your returns.
Right.
It's not going to be...
Not the value, yeah.
And so let's think about the future as we wrap up now. And Dr. Abdelfatah, in your position, leading the minds of these young people, what do you think can be done better? I mean, you're running a course now. Let's say for make it mandatory, that's the first step, I think. What else can be done more so that we shape the minds of those young people to embrace these for better value and better life going forward?
Thank you. I believe you said it. It is all about education, education, education. It's all about training. And to go back to that movie, Social Network, and people always prefer a familiar name. If I'm a hiring manager, uneducated, so if I see different names, so I'm Muslim. So if I see Abdul Rahman Mohammed, I could relate to that name, right? They're a Muslim name, so I know their expectation. What they like, what they don't like, halal meat, whatever.
Yes.
And I'll share a true story. There is a professor called Hamkam, and that professor taught me in undergrad. So after he graduated from college, he couldn't find a job in the US. So he had a hard time to find a job. And he was sharing, we became friends, he was sharing that story with me. He said, I'm Christian, of course. One day I went to church with my neighbor George. So the church asked people if they could volunteer to teach math for 6th graders. So he chatted with his neighbor George, who was a dropout from high school. Should we volunteer? He said yes. So they signed up their name. So those people called his neighbor, who was a dropout from high school. They did not call him. So from that point, he learned the problem was his name, because the assumption of that individual was in charge of that volunteering event. Probably they assume, well, we don't know whether he speaks English or not, right? But George, familiar name, so a native speaker probably. So he went ahead and changed his name to Kenneth. So he went to court. In the US, you could do that. You could change your name if you don't like it. But the problem, after he changed his name, so he applied for several jobs. But the problem, he forgot his new name. People called him up. Hey, may I speak to Kenneth? Oh, sorry, wrong number. So after he hung up, oh my God, that's my new name. So he went back to court to reclaim his original name because he could not remember this new name. So finally he landed a job where he taught me. So we are talking about unconscious bias. That's what we need to focus on. Because again, it is easier to say, hey, we embrace diversity, we embrace inclusion. That is easy, being said than done. Because we need to change people's minds. And the problem with it, it is unconscious. So people are not doing that with, consciously. They are not hiring so-and-so. They're unconscious. Because again, if I'm a hiring manager, I wanted to hire somebody that I could relate to. If I cannot relate to you, I don't know what to make of you. So you might be a bad choice for me, for my organization. And I don't want to be held responsible. So it is better for me to just have a safer choice. So what we need to do to teach people, to train people, don't be afraid of learning about others. So get to know others, right? I know it is scary. I don't know you. You just got here. But, human beings, normally we are social, right? We love to social, especially in organization. And probably most of us are social with you if you have a familiar name, familiar culture. But if I cannot even pronounce your name, it is difficult for me to share anything with you. So we need to do more of that training, more of that education. So it is okay to be scared of even you cannot even pronounce an individual name. But it is okay to ask that individual, okay, about their name. How do you pronounce your name? So it is fine. It is totally okay, right? So, and you will need also those people to acclimate. Today we have, we had a new faculty in our department. So I walked around with that faculty to make sure that my people know his name. know a little bit about him and to share about themselves. So I wanted to make sure of that. So when you come from an HR background, you know those type of things. They're important because, again, you wanted to make that individual feel safe. They're welcome, they're valued, they're respected, and those are the most important people in this organization. If you have any problems, that is a go-to for technology. If you have a different problem, you should go to that individual, so and so. So we need to do more of that. And again, leadership is critical. They need to monitor from attracting, hiring, promotion. Because again, some managers, they might, they hire somebody, but they are not a big fan, or they do not embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. So as a leader, you want to make sure that who's being promoted, to what position, for what reasons, right? It is critical. And take, for example, the US. Take the US government. Only 6% of executive position in the government, women are being promoted. By the way, white women are a minority. Black women are a minority in the US, Asians, so on and so forth. Only 6%. And those people in charge of the government, why you are not promoting more women? Well, the problem is qualification. No, it isn't. Because that information is readily available. You could check that information. It's not about qualification. It is about unconscious bias about women because they are a minority. So, and that is the problem. We need to do more of training. So more of training, more of mentoring, more of coaching, but it does start from the C-suite. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Bless your work as well. I think you're doing a wonderful job here from everything I hear. And I would love to take your course as well. Maybe I'll learn something. Chairman Mohammed, any final words, any final thoughts for our panel?
No, I'd like to thank you, Daniel, and I'd like to thank everybody who is here and attended. I think this initiative of 7 days and 7 Emirates is very beautiful. And I heard that you told me that you do that in other countries as well. I encourage you to continue doing that. I'm not into cycling. I have cycled when I was a child.
We can still find out, break your own limitations.
And so I encourage you to do exercise and be a sport fit mentally and physically. And I wish everybody a great success in whatever you are doing. And I love to see people successful.
Shukran. Thank you very, very much. Can everyone please a round of applause for our panel. Thank you so much. Thank you very much to AURAK. Thank you very much to the DED. We are finished here. Thank you. We'd love to chat to anyone who wants to have a discussion with us. We are here. Absolutely. Thank you very much.